Hi, I'm Yusuf from DataSnipper, and today I'm going to show you a cool use case with the DataSnipper tool which relates to testing controls. To define the use case, this example will focus on tests of operating effectiveness, and we're aiming here to verify that each control attribute which we've identified in our walkthrough process is being met. Typically, this is done by referring to documentation which evidences specific control procedures being performed. It can be time-consuming to evidence all of the control attributes, especially when you have larger sample sizes, and it can also be complex to review. In terms of our work steps, we'll start by focusing on performing the inspection procedures. We'll reconcile the amounts in the invoice and the delivery note. We can use the Smart Search functionality to make this easier. We'll then check that the signature on the delivery note is appropriate by matching it to the authorized list of signatories. We can then use the search and snip feature combined with a validation snip to document our control testing. In this example, I've made a testing sheet for a control in the purchase cycle. It has two attributes. Firstly, I want to check that the delivery note reconciles to the invoice based on the value of the goods. I then also want to evidence that the delivery note is signed by someone on the authorized list of signatories. Let's kick off. Firstly, we're going to add the example of each attribute being met. We can use the Smart Search functionality to look for the correct amounts on the delivery note and the invoice. We can then make sure that we've got the validation snip selected, and click this button in the search bar while holding the control key. That way we'll use the search and snip functionality to help us document this attribute being met. I can then do the exact same thing with the signature and the authorized list of signatories. This time I'll use the click and drag method to snip. The next step is to go through all of my samples and document the testing by using the validation snip. If the reviewer then decides to remove this evidence once they've reviewed it, then they can do so by simply removing the documents from the drop-down list. Finally, if I find any exceptions, I can use the exception snip to highlight these to the reviewer. Now, I simply complete the rest of my documentation, and that's my test of control complete. It's now very easy for the reviewer to see exactly how I've tested each specific attribute. Simple. In conclusion, we've now used DataSnipper to review our selected control evidence and document a sample of one item for the reviewer to understand how we validated each attribute. Thanks for checking out this use case video, and as always, happy snipping!